Greetings friends, and welcome back to Recon by Fire. For today's battle, we are trying out the new and improved Imperial Knights running the Noble Lance detachment with their new points and stats. They are bringing 4 Helverins, 5 Warglaives, Canis Rex, an Immolator, 2x5 sister squads, a Callidus Assassin, and a squad of Voidsmen. Steve is in the building again, running his Salamanders in the Firestorm detachment, and he is bringing Adrax Agatone, leading a squad of Blade Guard veterans, accompanied by a lieutenant, Vulcan Hestan with a squad of Infernus Marines, squad of scouts, squad of Infiltrators, 2x3 Inceptors, a Techmarine, a Ballistus dreadnought, a Lancer, a Repulsar, and a Land Raider. Mission for today will be Terraform. Deployment is Crucible of Battle, and we are playing on terrain layout number 1. Pre-game actions are going to be pretty swift, as the scouts will simply move off the template into cover. Top of round 1, and the Imperial Knights are going first. They will draw Recover Assets and Assassination as their secondaries for the turn. Vulcan will select the center objective to get extra OC and feel no pains while on it. Start of the command phase, the sister squad will sticky the home objective. Start of the movement phase, and the Immolator will push towards the natural expansion. Battle sisters inside will disembark, making sure at least one is touching the point. Helverin will move along the board edge to get minimal line of sight on the Land Raider. Legion Helverin will follow suit and also be able to see the Land Raider. Voidsmen are going to advance and spread out, taking the place of the Helverins, screening out the backfield. Helverin will push up next to the Immolator to stage for next turn and bait the Lancer. Green Warglaive will move forward to threaten the center objective but remain behind the building. Start of the shooting phase, Knights will spend a command point on Squire's duty targeting the Land Raider. In response, Salamanders are going to also spend a CP to Armor of Contempt. Both Helverins will fire into the Land Raider, but they fail to score a single wound. That is going to end a quick turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 3 points for recovering assets with 2 units and discard Assassination for a command point. Salamanders will pick up the Scout Squad. Bottom of round 1 for the Salamanders, they will draw no prisoners and engage on all fronts as their secondaries for the turn. Oath of Moment will be the Helverin that's exposed, and the Techmarine will buff the Repulsar, giving it a +1 to hit. Land Raider is going to move forward towards the natural expansion but remain off the template. The Assault Buggy will move on to the center objective and begin to terraform. Repulsar will peek out of the corner to stay within buff range of the Techmarine but have line of sight on the 2 Helverins. Techmarine will reposition to remain within buff distance, and the Lancer will follow closely behind to also stay within range. Ballistus Dreadnought will move wholly within the building to get line of sight on the 2 Armigers. Start of the shooting phase, and the Imperial Knights will spend a command point to rotate ion shields on the Black Helverin. Both the Repulsar and the Ballistus Dreadnought fire everything into it, but it survives at 7 wounds. That is going to end the turn for the Salamanders. They will score 1 point for engage on all fronts and discard no prisoners for a command point. Mario Kart will complete the terraform, and the Callidus Assassin will bamf out to go smash that like and subscribe button. If you just so happen to join her, that would be absolutely spectacular. Top of round 2 for the Imperial Knights, they will draw Defend Stronghold and Marked for Death as their secondaries for the turn. Marked for Death targets are the Lancer, the Techmarine, and the Infiltrators. They control 2 objectives and will score 4 points on primary. In the command phase, Sisters will sticky the natural expansion. Voidsmen and the Battle Sisters will adjust on the backfield to screen out the 6-inch deep strike from the Inceptors. Wounded Helverin will move towards the ruin, getting as close as possible. Legion Helverin will move forward but maintain as much cover as possible to get line of sight down the shooting lane. Battle Sisters are going to embark back into the Immolator. Immolator will then push forward onto the objective and peek around the corner to be able to strip cover. Gold Warglaive is going to move forward to be able to threaten the natural expansion for the Salamanders, but stay outside of 12 inches to avoid the overwatch from the Land Raider. Helverin will follow closely behind. Grey Warglaive is going to threaten the center objective and begin to terraform. Green Warglaive will also get on the center objective and just barely make it inside of melter range on the Repulsar. Final Helverin moves forward to get line of sight down the firing lane. Bone Warglaive will advance to move out of the building and make it to the center of the Imperial Knights lines to fill in the gap, screening out the Inceptors. Canis Rex will tow into the north-facing building to get line of sight on the Repulsar, but deny easy line of sight for the Land Raider and the Lancer. Callidus Assassin will stage out of harm's way to prep for next turn. Start of the shooting phase, Knights will spend a command point on Squire's duty targeting the Repulsar. Immolator is going to activate, sending the Hunter Killer into the Ballistus and the Bolters into the Repulsar. In response, Salamanders are going to pop smoke on the Repulsar. The Ballistus makes the save on the Hunter Killer, and the Bolters fail to wound the Repulsar, but the Immolator will strip cover on the Repulsar. Green Warglaive is next and will fire the top-mounted Melta into the buggy, but it dodges out of the way, and the spear into the Repulsar, knocking off 9 wounds. Canis Rex will fire its laser into the Repulsar at high intensity and absolutely pops off, making short work of the transport. Vulcan and the Infernus Marines will disembark, making sure they are out of line of sight of all the other armigers and only suffer a single wound on their way out. Gold Warglaive will fire into the Land Raider. In response, Salamanders will AOC here, and no joy. Helverin into the Land Raider, and it scores a wound. All 3 Helverins will fire their autocannons into the Ballistus, but the 2-up does some work, and it takes no damage. Start of the charge phase, and the Green Warglaive will make it into the Mario Kart. Knights will spend a command point to tank shock and leave it at just 3 wounds remaining. Warglaive will use the strike profile into the buggy and manages to pick it up. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 2 points for Terraform. Defend Stronghold is ongoing, and they'll discard Marked for Death for a command point. Bottom of round 2 for the Salamanders, they will draw Area Denial and Overwhelming Force as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 8 points on primary. Techmarine will buff the Lancer this turn. Immolator is the Oath of Moment. Start of the movement phase, Adrax and company will disembark. They proceed to make a beeline for the center objective and the 2 armigers. Vulcan and company are going to simply stage behind the wall for next turn. Lancer is feeling saucy and will advance to fill in the pocket that the Repulsar just left. Land Raider will inch forward to get better lanes of fire and increase its overwatch threat. Feeling pretty safe thanks to Lone Op, the Techmarine will come out from the building to take advantage of its 2+ anti-vehicle. Nothing doing this turn, the Scout Squad will arrive on the deep corner to screen out the Callidus next turn. Inceptors will arrive 6 inches away from all the Helverins and the Immolator. Start of the shooting phase, and the Redeemer is going to fire into the Grey Warglaive. Knights are going to spend a CP to rotate Ion Shields, and the Armiger will survive at just 5 wounds. Dreadnought is up next and will fire everything into the Immolator. Knights will go down to 0 CP to pop smoke. It lives, but at just 7 wounds remaining. Inceptors will open fire on the Immolator and bring it down to just 3 wounds remaining. Techmarine fires into the Warglaive on the center objective and knocks off a wound. Lancer will fire its big gun into the wounded Warglaive on the center objective, takes it down, it does not explode. The remaining weapon systems will go into the Immolator and it lives at just 2 wounds. It's charge o'clock and the Blade Guard veterans will make the charge onto the center objective. Salamanders are going to spend a command point on Crucible of Battle, giving them +1 to wound, and they absolutely tear the Armiger to pieces. It does not explode. That is going to end a strong turn for the Salamanders. They will score 5 points for Area Denial and 5 points for Overwhelming Force. Knights will score 3 points for successfully defending their stronghold, an additional 2 points for terraforming, and pick up the Callidus Assassin. Top of turn 3 for the Imperial Knights, they will draw behind enemy lines and establish Locust as their secondaries for the turn. They control 2 objectives and will score 8 points on primary. Start of the movement phase, and the Gold Warglaive will get nose to nose with the Land Raider trying to bait out the Overwatch, but Salamanders are onto it and state that they're only going to Overwatch if the Immolator moves. Sigh. Canis Rex plows through the wall with his eyes set on the Blade Guard veterans and Vulcan on the center objective. He is not battle shocked. Wounded Helverin will push as far into the enemy deployment zone as possible to score behind enemy lines. Second Helverin will do a slight reposition for better lines of fire and stay on the objective. Legion Helverin is going to do the exact same thing. Battle Sisters can see the writing on the wall and will disembark from the Immolator. Speaking of which, Immolator will fail its leadership check and is battle shocked. Voidsmen will reposition to continue to screen out the backfield. Boneglaive is going to move danger close on the Blade Guard vets. Sisters of Battle will take its place screening out the midfield. Neon Helverin will move back to cover where Canis was. Warglaive that was in strategic reserves will arrive with line of sight on the Land Raider and taking up the Helverin screen. Start of the shooting phase, the Immolator will fire into the Repulsar. It fails to score a wound but will now strip cover. Bone Warglaive is going to split fire, sending the Thermal Spear into the Lancer, knocking off 3 wounds. And the top-mounted Melta into the Blade Guard vets and picks up a model. Red Warglaive is going to fire into the Land Raider in order to bait out the Eradicators disembarking and firing back. Salamanders will spend a CP to pop smoke, and the Warglaive fails to score a wound. Eradicators want to stay alive and will not reactively disembark. Canis Rex fires into the Lancer and picks him up. Black Helverin that's on the objective will fire into the Inceptors. It picks up 2 of them and leaves another at just 1 wound remaining. Wounded Helverin will fire everything into the lone Inceptor and fails to take it down. Legion Helverin will split fire, sending an autocannon into the Inceptor and the rest into the Blade Guard vets. It only picks up the Inceptor. Start of the charge phase, and Canis Rex needs a 7 to make it into Vulcan squad, and he's in. Knights are going to burn a command point to Thunderstomp, giving Canis Rex devastating wounds. Canis will then use his discount to give himself precision with Epic Challenge. He manages to take out Adrax, the Lieutenant, and one of the Blade Guard vets. The remaining Blade Guard vets will crack back and score 2 wounds on Canis. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 3 points for behind enemy lines, 2 points for terraforming, and discard established locus for a command point. At the end of the turn, Salamanders are going to pick up the Scout Squad. Bottom of round 3 for the Salamanders, they will draw established locus and defend stronghold as their secondaries for the turn. The Warglaive stole the objective from the Land Raider, so they will only score 4 points on primary. Oath of Moment will be the Helverin that's on the natural expansion. Start of the movement phase, and the Infiltrators are going to do a slight reposition to be able to chuck a grenade at the wounded Helverin but still screen out the Callidus Assassin. Watching its glorious war machines explode, the Techmarine is out for blood. Vulcan and the Infernus Marines come through the wall ready to unleash hellfire. Eradicators will disembark and move to the center to make sure everything is within Melta range. Land Raider will tuck itself behind the wall to limit line of sight to it. Inceptors arrive out of deep strike to drown the Helverin in saves. Scouts will simply tuck into the nearby building. Ironically enough, Vulcan will select the Legion Helverin as its target, giving all Meltas and Flamers reroll wounds. Start of the shooting phase, and the Ballistus Dreadnought will fire into the Black Helverin, but rolls poorly on the damage rolls and unfortunately only scores 3 wounds. Land Raider Redeemer into the Gold Warglaive, and it survives at just 6 wounds. Eradicators now send everything into the same Warglaive. Imperial Knights are going to spend a command point to rotate Island Shields, but all of them wound. Warglaive will save 2 and fail 2. Knights debate on it and then command reroll and make the 3rd save. Eradicator needs a 4 on the die plus Melta to take down the Warglaive. They do the reroll to get the 4, 6 exactly. Knights make a feel no pain and it survives at 1. Oof. Techmarine will send everything into the Immolator, hoping to finally take it down, but no joy. Inceptors will fire into the Helverin on the point with sustain hits 2 and twin linked and brings it down to just 5 wounds remaining. Infiltrators will lob a grenade at the wounded Helverin. They score 2 mortals, but feel no pains brings it down to 1. Infiltrators proceed to fire into the Helverin, but no joy. Vulcan and the Infernus Marines roll a metric ton of shots into the Legion Helverin, and it barely survives by making a single feel no pain. It's alive at 1. Start of the charge phase, and the Land Raider will ram the wounded Warglaive, tank shocking it on the way in, and easily picks it up. It does not explode. Vulcan and company will attempt to charge the Helverin on the point. They need an 8 and roll a 5. Into ongoing combat, Canis will use his discount for devastating wounds again and will sweep into the Blade Guard vets, managing to absolutely pop off and pulverize them into the ground. That is going to end the turn for the Salamanders. They will discard Established Locust for a command point, and Defend Stronghold is ongoing. Imperial Knights will score 2 points for Terraform and elect to keep the Callidus Assassin on the table. Top of round 4 for the Imperial Knights, they will draw Sabotage, smash that like button, and no prisoners as their secondaries for the turn. They control 3 objectives and will score 12 points on primary. Both the Immolator and the Legion Helverin will fail their leadership checks and are battle shocked. Start of the movement phase, Callidus Assassin will advance to get both the Land Raider and the Eradicators in her Vectora. Canis Rex will pivot and move in on the Land Raider Redeemer. Bone Warglaive will come out and around the building to get line of sight on the Techmarine. Voidsmen will reposition to now only screen out the scouts. Sisters are going to proceed to do the same thing. Neon Helverin will pop out to get line of sight down the center. Warglaive is going to get within Melta range of the Land Raider. Sister Squad will tow into the building to begin the sabotage. Start of the shooting phase, Knights will spend a command point to Squire's duty on Vulcan. Immolator dumps everything into the Infernus Marines but fails to score a wound. Boneglaive into the Techmarine, he tanks it like a champ and takes no damage. Legion Helverin into the Infernus Marines picks up 4 of them. Black Helverin that's on the point will pick up 3 more of them. Neon Helverin will fire into the Inceptors across the court and picks up 2 of them, leaving another at just a single wound. Final Helverin will fire everything into the Infernus Marines, leaving just the Sergeant and Vulcan alive. Red Warglaive absolutely pops off and manages to pick up the entire squad of Eradicators. Rex fires into Vulcan and company and picks up the final Infernus Marine. Charge the clock, and the Warglaive makes it into the Techmarine. Canis makes his charge into the Redeemer. Warglaive into the Techmarine, he picks it up and will consolidate back onto the objective. Canis will use its strike profile into the Land Raider. Salamanders will spend 2 command points to AOC, but the onslaught proves too much and down goes the Land Raider. That is going to end the turn for the Imperial Knights. They will score 5 points for no prisoners, 2 points for Terraform, and Sabotage is ongoing. Salamanders will score 3 points for successfully defending their stronghold. With the Salamanders having minimal models left on the board, our players decide to call it here, making the final score with paint 59-36 in favor of the Imperial Knights. Thank you, Steve, so much for coming out and jamming with us. We always do appreciate it. And thank you, the viewer, for all your support. We recently hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we couldn't have done it without your subs and likes and sharing. So thank you so much. And as a celebration, we've started a 3-part narrative series where each mission will proceed to affect the following one. So be on the lookout for that. But that will do it for today, my friends. Thank you so much. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.